Imagine pulling a freshly caught sea bass from the waters off Northern Ireland, only to notice something strange protruding from its mouth. What at first looks like a bizarre deformity soon reveals itself to be a creature entirely separate from the fish, a living, breathing intruder, fixed to the spot where the fish's tongue once was. This unnerving visitor is 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗁 exigua, infamously referred to as the tongue biter, belonging to a family of parasitic isopods known as chemothoids. These creatures are distant but familiar relatives to harmless land-dwelling pillbugs. While their cousins may roll up into a ball when threatened, cymothoids have evolved far more macabre survival strategies. Their lives begin as minute, translucent juveniles drifting out in the open ocean, vulnerable, yet perfectly equipped for their peculiar destiny. Surviving initially on yolk reserves from their own egg, these larvae have one singular goal: to find a fish host. Chemical cues in the water or subtle changes in available light lead them toward their unsuspecting target. As the juvenile draws close, it spurs into action, swimming rapidly to seek out an opening, the fish's mouth or gill slits, and seizes the opportunity to sneak inside. Once attached to the gills, the isopod sets about its disturbing transformation. Shedding its swimming bristles and losing the ability to see, the parasite molts, adapting fully to its new, dark environment. Its entire physiology is reshaped. Organs once dedicated to swimming are replaced with specialized structures suited for anchoring into flesh and feeding on blood. At this stage, all individuals are fundamentally male. However, evolutionary ingenuity steps in. Once settled, the parasite undergoes one of nature's more remarkable transformations. It becomes female, giving rise to both horror and scientific curiosity. With its reproductive organs matured, the newly transformed female begins her final migration to the very front of the line, the fish's mouth. Carefully, the isopod latches onto the 𝗔𝗯cie𝘂𝘁𝗁, the fleshy tongue-like structure inside the fish's mouth. There, it feeds by extracting blood from the richly vascularized tissue. Over time, the 𝗔𝗯cie𝘂𝘁𝗁 atrophies and withers away, eventually being replaced entirely by the living parasite. The fish, astonishingly, survives this ordeal with its new living tongue manipulated by the parasite's movements whenever it eats or breathes. The relationship between isopod and fish is an uneasy truce, deadly for the tongue, but rarely instantly fatal for the host. But the horror story doesn't end there. The female, now firmly ensconced within her host's mouth, must reproduce. Males occupy the fish's gills nearby, occasionally entering the mouth to mate. Fertilization takes place inside this grisly nursery. The female releases hundreds of tiny offspring, each of which begins the life cycle anew, ready to drift away on ocean currents in search of an unoccupied host. Fish infected by 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗁 exigua may appear unbothered on the surface, but the health costs are significant. While some fish adapt with only localized injury, others suffer from anemia, stunted growth, or increased vulnerability to disease and predators. The parasite, while ensuring the host's survival for its own benefit, drains resources and puts additional stress on the already delicate balance of marine life. 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗁 exigua highlights the astonishing, sometimes horrifying ingenuity of evolution. It reminds us how complex and interconnected life is below the waves, where even familiar creatures like sea bass can harbor shocking secrets. In these murky realms, survival offers no certainties, only a constant, macabre contest between ingenuity, chance, and adaptation.